we never want to feel like we can just kick back and put our feet up on the table.
Absolutely.
Because security is a direction and it's kind of an attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But there is I think, a legitimate peace of mind that comes with this layered security, where we are essentially treating devices within the modern office way of doing things as always on public Wi-Fi. That's really the best way to put it. So maybe surprisingly to our listeners, we actually don't think firewalls are that important anymore. Hi everyone, Jason here with Elixo. Thank you for joining us on the Modern Office Podcast. I'm here with our guest, Dan Hein of the Alaska Air Group Credit Union. He's the president there. So let's talk about your journey. And I think one of the really fun things about it is we started talking in the summer of 2019. And this transition that you made was kind of perfectly timed.
Yes, it was.
For the pandemic, because you were basically done with it as COVID was hitting.
Exactly.
And I mean, how fortuitous for you to essentially move everything to the cloud right before that.
I had a number of people there that we were working with, had an IT guy that wasn't an employee, but an outside contracted IT individual, very great, helpful. He had a few people to help him, but over time it became, we had exhausted, I think, our servers and things like that. We're at that point where we have to make a decision to upgrade, right? I was exploring kind of like the Exchange server because we're going to need to update that, for email and kind of like, okay, well, can we go to the cloud? And and same with our file server. So I was talking to our core processor. They kind of had a file server thing, and I kind of dabbled in asking them questions about that. But overall, I knew that as I was asking these questions and kind of learning about different ways that we could do it, I was very concerned with having too much here, there, this, that, and then trying to piece it together.
Sure.
And maybe I was kind of procrastinating or just kind of waiting for a better solution to come along because I was really concerned with that.
I do that all the time. Yeah, sometimes you instinctively know, like in your gut, at an intuitive level, because you have a lot of experience, that the right thing isn't here yet.
Exactly. And I didn't feel comfortable. And I've worked with things like that where you kind of piece this in, and now you're relying upon somebody's really got to know all of this stuff in order to make it work. When it's working and when it doesn't work, to fix it. So now you're eliminating how many people can help you, and it's just that much harder, not only for whoever's helping you, but yourself as well, and understanding how it all works, right?
And having a system that is that sort of broken up.
Frankenstein.
I mean, it's kind of like it's held together with duct tape and baling wires, like we used to say.
Yeah.
When maybe there's a better way.
So then when, we talked with you guys and as I was exploring things and my options, whether we buy new servers or we go with the 365 solution, I was kind of overwhelmed a little bit. And then, making sure that I was being told realistic, I guess, expectations.
Yeah, because the last thing you want is someone giving you too rosy of a perspective on something that's new to you.
Exactly. And so once I got deeper into that and learned more about, okay, well, yeah, this can work. Oh, we can actually just run the OneDrive. It should work just fine. We don't have to, we can be in the cloud, but not have to pay quite the price.
Yep.
And we'll still be able to access our files in a reasonable amount of time. They'll load up. At the most, it's a second or something if it's a new file that needs to download or something like that. So, a lot of those things I initially had concerns on about the speed and everything were diminished. Especially we did, prepare for it by upgrading our speed on our internet,
That's true.
Especially with Teams, because we were going on that PBX system, and that was another thing that really scared me. So, we had that domain controller event as well as just with the PBX system. Periodically, we would have little hiccups or stuff like that. And you
absolutely need the one vendor to resolve them often.
And there was no vendor for that.
Right.
there might have been some retired guy out there that could have helped me.
I remember that
person that, and even you guys, when we had already signed on with you, we were kind of, until Teams was up and running, I was like, okay, this is just a ticking time bomb. I just do not want to have this go down. I think we had one time where it did go down, and I was able to respin it back up.
Yep.
I knew enough and had enough resources to do it on my own to make it work. But it's
not the highest and best use of your time.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. It is scary.
Yeah.
But we were able to get it up and running, and we didn't, impact our organization or our members. But I hate having that stuff, and that needed to have been done probably a long time ago. And switching to Teams was definitely the best solution because it's already within the universe.
Yeah,
I know there's other solutions out there.
There are, and frankly, there are some digital phone systems that might have a cooler looking app.
Yep.
But what we've learned when you're operating a business in the digital realm, the fewer tools you have that perform really well in their respective category, the better. So, you're already using Teams in most cases when you're using Microsoft's whole technology set for chat, because it really brings down the amount of internal email. But
correct. Yep.
why would you use another tool if it can also be your phone system? And I find that so interesting because a lot of people don't actually know that Teams has a robust, crazy sandbox VoIP platform built in where you can, the sandbox being that you can make it do anything you want. It can perform like a massive enterprise phone system. I mean, there are Fortune 500 companies that use Teams for calling.
And also, Alaska Airlines.
So I find that so interesting that it is literally that scalable. And you can't really say that about many VoIP platforms. And the fact that you already have Teams, you already have the Teams mobile app is really great. So have you found that convenient, being able to use the phone system, not just when you're in the office?
For me, not too much. I try and balance the work life.
Fair enough.
Do the work
that's
life
true.
balance.
You're pretty disciplined about that.
Yeah. So when I'm at home, I'm at home. I really try not to get on at all.
What about your staff?
They find it helpful.
Especially during COVID, I would think.
Yeah, if they're during COVID, working from home. But a lot of them did bring their computers home, and we found that we could hook up, various types of devices. So initially,
headsets and whatnot.
Yeah, we had different headsets, and then over time, some people found like, oh, I want this, and so then I bought different, types of designs. I mean, we have it from a handset, like the old style handset that's a Bluetooth. We have one employee that likes that.
Some people just need that,
and that's fine. That's their thing.
That's their thing.
I'm not gonna to each their own. And we have others with the small little just guy there, and
our bookkeeper uses her AirPods on her cell phone, and our customers have no idea that when they are talking to her, that she is on her cell phone running the Teams app with AirPods. And I love how Teams calling has democratized the phone system in this mind-bending way, where we no longer think of the phone system as a box on the wall, or more recently as some thing in the cloud that we have to use these physical phones for. The mobile app in particular has been really powerful for me because I'm in my car a lot.
I see, yeah.
And usually in the I-5 corridor, which means I have cell reception that's pretty good. So I'm taking and making calls within Teams multiple times a week.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and just a week ago, Dan, I was in my car meeting with a new prospective client. I don't think they knew I was in my car because I parked.
Yeah.
The audio system in my car is pretty good. It like brings the background noise way down.
Yep.
And I presented from my laptop all over cellular. I joined the meeting, of course, natively in Teams as well. I even switched back and forth between my devices because I had to present from my laptop, but I also wanted to show them what the mobile phone experience looked like live. And so I did all this in my car.
It's just crazy.
It's
anywhere, any place, as long as you have that connection, of course.
That's right. The one big caveat being you need to have at least a couple bars, if not 3.
Yeah. And even after we moved on, COVID was hitting right then, right at the very beginning when we made that change, which was perfect timing for us because then people can work from home easily. And it was good because, within that phone system, I can easily add people to various departments. And, so if we need to shift some support for various things, we can do that.
And you don't have to be like an IT genius.
No, not at all.
Because it's a really simple graphical interface.
Yep. I just go in and I can adjust all those things. And of course, if I'm unsure of something,
You know who to call.
Exactly. I call Elixo and say, hey, I think this is right. I think I set it up right. During the summer, though, I think that first 2020, everybody had switched to Teams so fast, so they did have a number of hurdles to get through.
Yes.
But since so many, like you mentioned, Fortune 500 companies are on that system, things are going to be addressed.
Yep.
And so
and quickly.
Exactly. And so those are the things that helped me, like comfort me. If we were with a bunch of smaller, I guess, phone systems per se, a small vendor and getting that support, I don't know how great. I'm sure it'd be good in some ways, but having all of these different players on that platform,
Yep.
I think it's going to make sure that things are going to be fixed.
Yes.
And which they have. I mean, during that first summer, it was kind of...
It was a little rough.
It was touch and go, yeah.
The late spring and summer last year were tough because...
Some challenges.
I think Microsoft Teams user base doubled or tripled in a span of like 6 months.
Exactly. And so they went through all those tough growing pains. But I have to say, for the last, I want to say, 6 to 12 months almost, it's been
pretty rock
really
solid.
good. Yeah.
I haven't noticed any outages myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I use Teams heavily every day. I'm on at least 1 or 2 meetings every day. Teams being a core chat application already, it's just so great that it can also be your phone system.
Absolutely. Yeah. So and a number of our employees were really looking for a chat option as well. And so some of the managers, and so they're really happy. In fact, it's funny because there's a lot of GIFs and things like that go back and forth, funny little, things. And I'm all for it.
And there's some personality that comes out of it.
Absolutely. So we've got a lot. I've learned how to attach some GIFs now.
Hey,
here
all
and
right.
there. I
Look
know.
at you.
It brings out personality.
And just some community.
Yeah, exactly.
So Dan, tell us about your background and kind of how you came into the credit union industry and maybe kind of what led you from being on the auditing side to actually running a credit union.
I had a history of credit unions probably way back when I was a little kid. My mom, she was a credit union member at the time, and she's like, you got to open an account. I was probably 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
And it was Clackamas Federal Credit Union down in Oregon. That's where we lived. So I opened up my first credit union account there, had it till I went off to the military. So I joined the U.S. Army right away out of high school, make some money, pay for college, all that good stuff. And right there, I'm in Fort Rucker, Alabama, in Army Aviation, and first thing I do is I join Army Aviation Federal Credit Union over there. I think they've since changed their name, and so I just always been with credit unions.
right out of the military.
Yep.
Wow, and it goes back even further. I didn't know that to your childhood. So your parents were big credit union believers.
Correct. And so I was in the military. I was stationed over in South Korea, and then got out, lived there for a few years, and then we moved. My wife was from South Korea. We moved back to the States. Kind of now starting off my career and all that stuff. And so I'm applying for positions. I had an uncle at the time who was a supervisory committee member for a credit union, and he mentioned to the audit firm that was there, hey, I have a nephew. He's got an accounting, degree and background. And
what is your degree in, by the way?
Well, it's actually business management, but with the emphasis in accounting. So,
okay.
It's just I liked accounting. Took a lot of accounting classes.
And did you get the opportunity to pay for that with the GI Bill?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so
I love that.
I was really fortunate. I was in a lot of jobs in the military where I could go to school at night. So I'd be working, doing my Army thing, and then at night I go to the usually the high school that's on the base. That's where we had the classes usually. But yeah, so I got an interview with this audit firm that was working with the credit union. He was a supervisory committee member for, and so had that interview. It went really well. Had a phone interview, then had an in-person interview. They were a very great company. At the time, it was O'Rourke, Sacker, and Moulton, and they were the largest auditing firm for credit unions at the time. A few hours later, get an offer, and I accept it.
A few hours later?
Well,
wow.
I think so. I think it was a few hours later. I can't remember exactly, but I got the offer.
I believe it.
And it was great, and then I accepted, and we moved up to Seattle, and that's how I began auditing credit unions, and that really that was a great experience. I worked there for a little over 5 years. But at that time, we started having little kids and, growing my family, the travel, you're traveling overnight, out of town,
That's brutal.
60, 70% of the time. That's really hard on the kids. And so then I had to make a decision, and I knew there was a position at a nice credit union that I was auditing, and the accounting manager was in the midst of retiring. And so I applied. And they offered me the position, and that was at Seattle, at the time, Seattle Metropolitan Credit Union. They've since changed their name to Seattle Credit Union. And so then I took over the accounting manager position there. So that was really great, nice local
So you were
job.
you were really in that sort of core kind of, I imagine it was sort of like a controller level role in that credit union.
Exactly. So I worked there at that credit union, for a little over 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was great. Great people, expanding things, doing things, and, going through different.
That's a solid chunk of time. Like 4 years, you get a good amount of experience under the belt.
Absolutely. And even during that time, we had a core conversion, which was a really good experience.
Oh, yeah.
So, you have your core processor, which is pretty much the guts and the main thing that's handling all the transactions. It's where,
They are essentially how you're connected to the financial networks, correct?
Correct. So that's that software program that, houses all the member information, usually also a lot of loan information and a number of things, right? So we had a core conversion and so, I got to see and be a part of that process, and that was fun. It was a good learning opportunity.
So Dan, you had these 4 years under your belt. You got a core conversion under your belt. At this point, given the auditing that you did for 5 years and working in one both before and after that, like you're pretty seasoned at this point. What happens next?
So for me then, not that I was heavily looking, but I did notice that there was a position that came available with Northwest Credit Union Association. I saw that. It intrigued me a lot because the one part I liked a lot of things about the auditing, but the one part I really liked the most was visiting all these different credit unions and getting to engage with all of these different credit unions. So then I felt, well, shoot, this is an opportunity. It's local, and I won't have to travel as much, but I'll be able to engage with all these different credit unions.
And you're well suited for it because you've been in that industry for 10 years at this point.
Yes, exactly. So I applied for that, going through the interviews, all that good stuff. You offered me the position. I took it, of course, and so I worked there. And that was a great experience because then we had a merger. So we had I helped to facilitate that merger, accounting wise, and with the association, it was definitely a learning experience because I hadn't done so much accounting for a for-profit and a not-for-profit because they have kind of 3 different arms to the association. So you've got the association itself, right? And then you've got they have a strategic link, which is kind of their for-profit, where they have kind of contracts with vendors and things of that
They're sort
nature.
of offering like buying group services and other kind of partnership opportunities.
Absolutely. All of that is there. And then they have a foundation as well. So,
okay.
So, and that's like helping to support either some local communities or things of that nature.
But that's sophisticated. You got multiple entities.
Yep. So I got to be a part of that, and that was a great experience. And helping with this office move and relocation from Federal Way to SeaTac, and just being a part of that whole environment and learning more about the lobbyist side, and kind of meeting with the regulators more. I mean, I met regulators even auditing as well as with the credit union, work with them, but just a little bit of a different kind of side to it.
Sure.
Getting, making sure that we're positioning credit unions for the future and either protecting things like our tax exempt status, which is very important.
Well, and just making sure that the interests of credit unions are looked after
absolutely
and voiced, right?
Correct.
I mean, someone's got to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We hold, only around, I think it's 6 or 10% or so market share. You've got the big banks and all these things, and we're here for the community, right? Yep. And that's obviously what attracts me, to credit union industry.
Yeah.
It's it's for the people.
Yeah.
And you're not out for big business and all that stuff, and just doing the right thing.
We never want to feel like we can just kick back and put our feet up on the table.
Absolutely.
Because security is a direction and it's kind of an attitude. But there is I think, a legitimate peace of mind that comes with this layered security, where we are essentially treating devices within the modern office way of doing things as always on public Wi-Fi. That's really the best way to put it. So maybe surprisingly to our listeners, we actually don't think firewalls are that important anymore. And when I say firewall, I mean the network firewall at the edge of the network, because we are actually configuring the devices as though they are on public hotel Wi-Fi all the time. And we lock them down accordingly. And I think that's one of the things that can really put some people at ease in the credit union industry in terms of being in the cloud.
Absolutely.
It is counterintuitively, like we talk about all over our website, it's actually more secure.
Yeah, and for me, that was kind of getting over that little like, oh my gosh, my information is up there. Not only my information, but members' information, right? We've got lots of information. The worst thing I think that, or the one thing that does keep me up at night would be, some type of data compromise or something of that nature. That would be horrific.
Yeah, if your core processor is compromised directly or indirectly through you, those kinds of breaches are very difficult things to get through because there's disclosure laws and rules, and your members, of course, are going to have concerns and opinions about that. So no doubt the stakes are high. Where we've noticed it the most, Dan, is actually our insurance premiums have been doubling or tripling every year for the last 3 years.
We just re-signed our insurance, and let's see, what did that go up about? Yeah, almost like I'd say about 20%, 25%. The premium. So yeah, the
stakes are high.
You feel like health insurance is going up. Well, the other pieces are as well, and we have obviously cyber security insurance as well. That's all included.
And that policy for us is the one that's been going up so significantly. We were actually just emailing back and forth with our underwriter recently, and the level of interest they're taking in our business and operations and the amount of proof they're wanting is just incredibly high. Now, fortunately, we take it very seriously for a company our size, and we do get audited by a third party regularly, and we provide those attestations to the insurance underwriter. And I just can't imagine buying a cyber insurance policy, having a more casual attitude about this stuff. I even have to wonder sometimes if our competitors who are around our size are even buying it now, because we were, I would say, just barely able to get the coverage level that we wanted. And we ask for a pretty high level because some of the government entities we work with require it. But I find that really interesting because among companies like us that are our size, I've met one out of the last 40 or 50 I've talked to that has actually had a third party auditor come in and even look at their own security.
That's crazy.
Isn't that interesting?
That is, I am shocked by that because it's always good to have somebody outside coming in, from that auditing background.
Yes. Who's objective.
Yes.
Who's got no skin in the game.
Absolutely.
It seems very like the fox watching the hen house.
Absolutely.
To just say, just trust us. And, I'm not throwing shade at our competitors.
Sure.
And I don't want to ever be that guy that's like ragging on competition. But I will tell them, and you can quote me on this, they have got to take this stuff more seriously than they are. Because it is very common for an MSP like Elixo to not be its most secure customer.
Wow.
Where it actually protects its own clients at a higher level of security than it protects itself.
That's a back door.
It very much is. And so with the stakes being as high for us, and the stakes being as high for you, I think it's been a good litmus test of can you legitimately move a business into the cloud and maintain a level of security? And we've gone on this journey together, and so far, so good. Auditors seem to be pretty happy with it.
Yep. And we just had it this last...
that's right. It was pretty recent.
Gosh, June. We had them out in June, July. Yeah.
From what I remember hearing, we actually made the process of doing the audit very difficult for them because just getting it going was much harder than normal. And then I think when they were running their scans, the network sort of appeared to be dead because nothing would talk to their probe.
And that doesn't just include the penetration testing. They're looking at, is everything updated?
That's right.
all the patches done, that type of stuff, as well as, okay, well, even going as far as like social engineering, which I know Elixo provides some educational material for us as well.
Yep.
And a lot of people could easily be duped into clicking on something or giving some information, things of that nature. So I definitely emphasize that heavily. And my team is very good about like stopping them right away. And we obviously pass the social engineering piece of it with flying colors.
Good.
And
that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and I'm very happy if there's lots of times where I even send out emails or various things, and it might be an email where it might feel suspicious, so they'll double check with me, and I'm like, I'm happy you double checked, but it's legitimate. It's okay.
I love that. Because you really do want people to err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
Even if you are a landscaping company, the stakes are still very high because we're seeing, Dan, every kind of small business we support being spearfished right now, and it's really scary. The lengths that bad actors go through. We're evangelists in a way to dispel this idea among small business owners, especially people who've been doing it for a while.
Yeah,
that assumption we could make 10 years ago that they're not really a target. We can't make that assumption anymore.
Oh yeah, we're all targets. They're trying to get us I know you guys could probably provide me a million reports on how many times various threats have been blocked on a daily basis.
Spearphishing is really pernicious, right? Because it's a combination of technical know-how and social engineering. Because let's just say there's a company called Acme Landscaping, right? They will decide to target Acme Landscaping, even if it only has 8 employees. Because what they found is the effort to dollar ratio is actually much higher with these small businesses because they are softer targets. So interestingly, you are hearing about really big breaches, but often those are like, if they're not state sponsored, they're actually sponsored by organized crime.
Yes.
I remember reading a brief from Homeland Security last year talking about how basically the mafia is actually running a huge amount of the cybercrime in this country now. And that's just not something I would assume. Just pondering,
I have myself
like in the
as
woods.
well.
Like, really? Like, I imagine, the Godfather sitting there.
Yeah. Okay.
You come to me without friendship.
Yeah.
It's a different world than it was.
Yes.
And it's a little frightening. We have always attempted to avoid fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, in our relationships with our clients, and particularly selling, because we think it's just overdone in our industry. That said, there really are some real stakes involved because some of our smallest clients have been duped into buying thousands of dollars of gift cards or wiring huge chunks of money and not getting it back in some cases.
Yep, and we've had members with the same situation. So, we try our best to educate our members up front. We have educational, resources on our website.
Yeah.
Members can go there and learn about that, and we're trying to educate them on debit card fraud.
Good.
We're getting hit from so many different angles, and we're here to be an advocate for our members and hopefully educate them.
I really love that you see yourself. In that regard, because I think that's a little uncommon. You're sort of fighting for your members in a way, and if people just don't know any better. Frankly, my dad almost got tricked into one of these gift card scams. He was on the phone with this guy for an hour, and it wasn't until he got to Lowe's to buy some gift cards that he realized this isn't legit.
Yeah.
And he hung up on the guy, and the guy called him back like 10 times.
Yeah,
but he had a very convincing story. My dad's a very skeptical person. He just didn't understand that someone would go to those lengths to just straight up lie to him in a very convincing way.
To get a few hundred, if not thousands of dollars. And we have that happen all the time. Well, not all the time, but it happens to our members, and there's no way we can fully prevent it. And really, it's up to the member to identify these things. But, hopefully we can help them, and educate them. We're all susceptible to it. Even myself, 5 of us in our office, we get letters that we've filed for unemployment. No, I was gainfully employed.
If you look at yourself in terms of your industry, and particularly credit unions your size, do you see yourself sort of leading the charge when it comes to, your technology standards and what you've adopted, or do you see yourself more in the middle of the pack? And either way, explain why.
I would say we're towards that front end, but not on the bleeding edge, and that's right where we want to be. Leading costs a lot of money, which could break a credit union, and I've seen it before when I was auditing, where credit unions just invest so much dollars in whatever it is,
shiny things.
Exactly, and I don't want to chase too much after those shiny things. I want to make sure it's working.
I think that's right where any small business would want to be, and I think where leaders and business owners tend to struggle is, how do I get to being sort of not at the very front of the pack, but in that upper half without it breaking the bank?
Exactly.
And that's where having a trusted partner is really helpful, whether it's Elixo or anyone else, because there's a lot of great companies like us out there. The trusted partner that values keeping their clients relevant is harder to find.
Yeah.
Because a lot of companies that provide IT service are very much still entrenched in that idea of, we want to sell servers, we want to sell infrastructure that's physical, we want to keep everything local. It's like this, we've always done it this way, we want to keep control over it. This cloud thing, I don't know, they're skeptical about it. And so there's been a lack of investment of time and curiosity about it. And I'm just an inherently curious person. I'm also a little skeptical too. So it took me a while to warm up to the cloud. You know, we were, of all of our clients migrating to Office 365 for email, we were actually like right in the middle, which is a little unusual. So I'm kind of cautious.
Yeah.
But when I went to Microsoft Ignite, the big conference a few years ago, and really got exposed to their vision, it hit me between the eyes. And so I'm so glad we were able to roll that out for you.
IT, you know, you don't want to skimp on. It's not like, I think you guys are overpriced. I think you're right priced. And when I take that price, how much we spend towards, you know, not only just your services, but the other services, you know, through the partnership with Microsoft and 365 and the other security tools and all of that. Yeah. I mean, overall, it's still, if I was to hire one person, that would be more expensive. And then I'd be running a risk with that one person leaving and having to find a new person.
That's
I mean,
right.
It's just like, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's really why I think we enjoy working with organizations that are, you know, under 100 staff, because that tends to stay true up to that point. And then if they have over 100, we're going to be the first ones to say that, well, let's make sure you have an internal resource that's actually on your payroll. And we're happy to direct their efforts. If they're not a high-level hire, if they are a high-level hire, we'll collaborate with them. But it's great to keep your IT spending really effective. Because like you said, if you actually have someone on staff and you're paying for all these licenses and the tools and the security, it's going to cost far more than working with a vendor that's really got it dialed in. So, but thank you for that feedback.
Yeah. No, you're welcome. No.
Well, thanks for coming on the show.
It was a pleasure.
This has been great having a conversation, and it was cool just to see you in person. It's been like forever.
Definitely.
And for those of you who've been watching, if you have any questions at all for me or Dan as a follow-up, feel free to just hit the contact form that'll be next to this video, and we'll make sure that we get back to you. Have a good one.